business. We want to talk all about Micron. Andrew Graham, managing partner, Jackson Square Capital. I'm glad you're here. We're seeing the stock down almost 8% today, Andrew. And within the report, there were a lot of bright spots. In fact, folks were thinking there were going to be some up arrows, only to see it turn around. What do you attribute this turnaround to, and what did you think of the report?
So I thought it was a strong revenue and earnings beat. They increased guidance, which is always a good sign. But gross margins missed by roughly 60 basis points. And you could hear some audible frustration on the conference call on the part of some analysts about the gross margin weakness. I think the stock's also coming off because of positioning, and expectations were relatively high. The stock has outperformed the Philadelphia Semiconductor Index by roughly 30% year to date, and it's outperformed NVIDIA by 34% year to date. So some of that's coming off now, and the stock's going to have to settle down. This is the ultimate show me stock, and so I think people will probably wait until we get closer to next quarter.
I mean, there was certainly some good news there pertaining to the data center growth. Joining us now in our conversation, Dan Geltrude's with us, founder of Geltrude and Company and author of Dogs Taught Me Everything I Know About Business. Good to see you, Dan. Your thoughts, if you could jump in here on Micron.
Well, look, I think that Micron has a lot of potential here, because when you look at where the industry is headed, and what do I mean by that when we're talking about whether it's AI or data centers, they are very, very well positioned to meet that increased demand for memory solutions. Because when we're talking about chips and we're talking about AI, it's all about how much memory can be added on while keeping things very, very small. So I think Micron, they have a lot to prove, no question about it, but I think they have what it takes. Certainly their track record right now, based upon what we just saw from their fiscal second quarter, I think there's an excellent outlook for them.
So would you be buying this stock, Andrew, at this point now, especially when it's down 8% today?
No. So again, I think some of that overbought, or the positioning that sort of got extended, particularly the part of hedge funds, has to burn off, and it's going to take a little bit of time. We're also in a tough market, so I think you can afford to wait a little bit. There's reasons for it to be encouraged, right? The gross margins were weighed down by their legacy NAND business, and the company's obviously focused on the higher margin HBM solutions for AI GPU platforms. And so HBM shipments in the quarter were up 50% quarter over quarter. And that's encouraging. So we will turn to this name, but we're going to wait for it to come in a little bit. And we suspect probably in the next couple months, it'll be ready for us.
And partnerships with NVIDIA. Dan, what say you? Do you think that Micron's a buy here?
Actually, I think it is. And the reason I say that is based upon the long-term outlook here. Anytime you start to get involved with timing the market, it gets a little tricky. Do I think Micron is going to continue to go up? Yes. Will it go down and go back up? And are there going to be some turbulence? Absolutely. But for me, this is a buy now because it's going to be a long-term hold.
And look, I mean, they are seeing demand. There's no doubt. While margins were cut and reduced more than folks thought, Dan, do you see more for AI overall? Is this not just a Micron story? Are there other names that you would be buying too?
Oh, absolutely. Look, I think that the market and where technology is going is right in this direction. I mean, this is the future of the U.S. economy, if you ask what I think here. So, a lot of people have talked about NVIDIA and whether it's overpriced. And I also think NVIDIA is a buy. I think Palantir is a buy. I think that these companies in the long term are going to continue to go up. I like the industry. I like the sector. I'm all in on this.
All right. Andrew, is there anything that you are saying is probably a buy just yet? Because I know you are worried about the big picture here. And even though Micron's been beaten down a bit and maybe has a good outlook, you're still just not ready to buy it yet. Is there anything that seems a little more close to attractive to you?
Yeah, so I think Dan's alluding to the fact that there's been no real change in AI CapEx spending. As a matter of fact, I think it's ticked up a bit here in the last couple weeks. Jensen Huang at his keynote address earlier this week at the GTC conference did an excellent job sort of showing why DeepSeek's reasoning model leads to greater increase in density and more need for compute. That does fit into Micron's wheelhouse. The gigabytes are only going up in terms of how many they're required on the next version of the GPU platforms. And they're going up by about 250% ultimately over the next 18 months. So there's an opportunity there for Micron, and there's also an opportunity as you know, maybe you run out of clean room capacity, that DRAM production goes down a tiny bit and inventories go down, and then the basic overall DRAM business improves as well. So while I am picky about price, I think this stock fits into the larger universe of names we want to buy that include NVIDIA and Arista and some other names in AI infrastructure.
All right. Thank you both. Andrew Graham, Dan Geltrude, thank you. Good to see you.